Hello and welcome to another episode of Around the Leagues with Brady B. I am your host and none other than Brady Bauer himself. And I'm here with a lot of news to go over with you guys. We've had championship games won and played. We've had coaches fired across different sports. The Bears are looking bipolar as ever and so much more. Just want to thank everyone for tuning into last week's episode, the Halloween episode that we had. I hope you guys had a great Halloween. Hope you had a lot of candy. Were safe out there if you guys went to any parties or anything like that. And hope you got your hangover cured just in time to sit on the couch and watch college football and NFL football for the weekend. Been a lot of stuff that's happened since we've last spoken, but let's start with the Chicago teams. I was going to come into this episode with the take of, does Ben Johnson hate Caleb Williams? Because after the Ravens game, when we lost to them 30-17, there were some questions going around on sports radio about the future of the Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson relationships. So most coaches have coach speak. They give the same answers most of the time when they're asked about things. For instance, let's say Ben Johnson goes to the press conference and they ask him, "Oh, Caleb didn't have the best performance. He made a couple good throws. What do you have to say about that?" Ben Johnson would probably say something like, "Yeah, he was doing his job, trying to make some throws. It just didn't go our way that time." But in the Ravens game, when the Bears needed him most, Caleb threw a terrible interception on our goal line. It's something you can't do. You got to be better in that situation. It was second down, I believe. You just got to throw that away or eat it. Take a sack. Obviously not a safety, but just take a sack, something rather than throwing an interception right to the defense, which Caleb did. After the game, when they were asked about it, Caleb kind of played it off saying, "Oh, I made the right read. That was where I was going to go the whole time." And then Ben Johnson was saying, "Yeah, he has to do better at that. That's not the right read. He has to continue through his progressions." And that right there scared me as a Bears fan, because you never want to hear when your quarterback and head coach are not on the same page. I kind of spun zoned it and did this because Dan Campbell was the coach in Detroit when they had Jared Goff when he first got there, and Ben Johnson was the coordinator for them. And when Jared Goff was struggling, before the Lions became the Lions that we know now, winning divisions, they were struggling to win even one game. Literally, they were 0-15, I believe, at one point in the season before Jared Goff led them down the field and scored a touchdown for the first win, I think, against the Saints back in the day. But after the game, Dan Campbell made it clear that Jared Goff wasn't playing the best football that they thought he was capable of. And I don't necessarily hate that type of call out, because you got to light a fire under your guys' ass sometimes. You can't just let them go through the motions. Like, sorry to bring Fields into this, but Justin Fields just went through the motions. Didn't seem like he really wanted to win. If they lost, it seemed like whatever, he would just go back to his house, his mansion, and play with his dog. Like, he didn't really seem in it. But Caleb is a grinder, and you could tell he wants it. So I think he's open to that type of criticism from his coaching staff, especially in the offseason when all the noise about no one on the team helped him do anything. I think having Ben Johnson there giving this type of honesty to him is what he needed, because you can't have a coach kissing your ass, telling you everything's going to be okay when you're not doing what has to be done in order to win games in the National Football League. After that Ravens loss, a lot of Bears fans were disappointed in how the game went, which is understandable. The Ravens were without Lamar Jackson, which I think Lamar is just scared of facing the Bears, because when I went to the game when they played here in Chicago a couple years ago, Lamar Jackson, right before the game started, he was declared out. So he just probably scared of the Bears. That's what I'm going to take away from it. But anyway, so it was a bad game altogether, because we were facing Snoop Huntley, which is Tyler Huntley, but apparently he's nicknamed Snoop because he looks like Snoop Dogg. But we did some digging. He looks nothing like Snoop Dogg. I don't understand. His high school coach came up with this nickname for him because he looked like Snoop Dogg. It looks absolutely nothing like Snoop Dogg. Look up Snoop Huntley right now on Google, and that's who they thought Snoop Dogg looked like. Looks nothing like him. So Snoop Huntley's playing quarterback for the Ravens. You think it's going to be a nice, easy win? The schedule's breaking our way. We could continue to build up our record. If we won that game, we would have been 5-2, and then if we win the next game, we're 6-3. So things are looking up, but things are never easy with the Bears, and of course we lost that game to a backup quarterback. But oh no, Huntley was a Pro Bowler. If you remember that, a couple years ago, Tyler Huntley was named to the Pro Bowl because so many quarterbacks were out and didn't want to go to the Pro Bowl. So Tyler Huntley technically is a Pro Bowl quarterback, but this is a team you got to win. And we had chances to beat them, and we just beat ourselves. And going into it, I'm like, we just got to bounce back next week against the Bengals because that's what teams do. If you have a good coach and a good foundational team, from the general manager and owner all the way down to the equipment manager in the team, you find ways to bounce back. And the Bears were able to do that yesterday when we beat the. Oh my God. We didn't just. That's not even the best way to go into it. It was 47-42 against the Bengals yesterday, but that doesn't tell the whole story. We were literally going to lose the game. Oh my God. So 2-minute warnings coming up. We're up 14. Joe Flacco's old ass leads his team down in the field. They score everything. Okay, they have no timeouts left. Oh, they had to recover an onside kick. But at the same time, if you watch Red Zone, there's a bunch of onside kicks taking place in the NFL. So the probability, the chances and the probability were not in the Bears' favor because all these different kicks were going on. Onsides not getting recovered. And me and my brother looked at each other like, oh, of course, we're going to get screwed by this. They're going to recover the onside because of all these that have just taken place. So we're sitting there. Sure enough, the kick is on the way. And Daniel Hardy of the Bears, I know he isn't supposed to be the guy to get it. His job is just to block the people around him. But he should not be on the field right now. He's a hands team, and he's not. He's a lineman. He shouldn't be on the field at that time. Give me freaking Jade Walker, even Colston Loveland, Durham Smythe, someone else. If you want a big body, put in Durham Smythe. He's a big tight end that could block and get the ball for you on the recovery. But no, Daniel Hardy, a third string D end, was out there going up. The ball didn't even go 10 yards, so he was already going past what he wasn't supposed to be doing. And it hit his foot, and then you just see a scrumble happen. Bengals players, Bears players, refs on top of the pile trying to get in there to see who has it. And this is the worst part of football during a game. You know your team probably doesn't have the ball at the bottom of that, but you're just gaining hope, waiting for one of the players to start pointing in their direction so you could at least have something to look forward to. But everyone, the Bengals, start pointing in their direction. No one on the Bears looks happy about what's going on. And then you see the refs, sure enough, do the signal and point towards the Bears, towards the Bengals side. And the Bears were now going to have to go on defense with a 6-point lead at this point. So if the Bengals scored a touchdown, kicked a field goal, they would have been up 1, which is exactly what they did. Joe Flacco throwing lasers to freaking T. Higgins. T. Higgins was cooking us the whole game. It was insane. T. Higgins scored the touchdown to give them the lead. And then here we go, boys. Caleb, are you clutch or are you not? Let's see what you got, kid. First 2 plays went nowhere. It was terrible when we got the ball back. Then Caleb scrambles and gets the first down. My dad called that. He was like, Caleb's going to have to run for the first down here. Sure enough, he scrolled to the right, did a little spinorama that he does, got the first down, got out of bounds. Or no, he didn't get out of bounds. We had to use the timeout there. So then Caleb gets the ball back, across the middle, bang, the Colston Loveland, he caught it, and it looked like he was like going backwards, like doing a limbo backwards. He spun back like 360 the other way and sprinted down the middle of the field for a touchdown. The Bears had no timeouts left at this point, so if he got tackled, it would have been an all-out frenzy for the offensive line, everyone else behind the play to get down there and spike the ball to stop the clock and give us a chance to kick. But luckily, we didn't have to deal with that because Colston had touchdown number 2 on his mind, and he was not stopping. I was screaming, go, 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 go. Because if he got down, it literally would have been frenzy. And if the Bears didn't get it off, that would have been the talk today and the rest of the week. Colston Loveland needs to be better. have better football knowledge. You need to know you can't run. You got to get down there. But luckily, we didn't have to do that because Colston scored, and then they gave the Bengals the ball back. And this is when the PTSD came back from last year's Commanders game when they hit the Hail Mary on us. Because sure enough, Flacco got the Bengals to about the 50-yard line, and that gave them a perfect Hail Mary opportunity chance. But thankfully, Dennis Allen's smarter than freaking Matt Eberflus. And we didn't just leave 3 rushers, we sent 5. And that was ultimately the biggest difference because Flacco is 45 years old. He can barely move. So if you just give a little pressure to him, he's going to be flustered, and that's exactly what happened. He literally went two steps to the right and just yammed that ball up in the air. There was no chance the Bengals were going to get it. It was like 20 yards away from the end zone. So we got the interception, and we won the game, thankfully. But even in that second, our guy tried running it back, and I was just screaming, "Get down, get down, get down," because that's all you need to do. Just get down, you win the game. But what a win for the Bears. 47-42, 5-3 on the year with the Giants coming into Chicago next week. I think that's a winnable game. I mean, the Giants have a good defense, but it's really a bunch of pass rushing. Their run defense isn't the best. They're without Cam Scatterbu, the freaking maniac. And I believe Cam Scatterbu is probably doing practice squad stuff right now on the or scout team stuff right now on the Giants. He's a maniac. He can't be without football. Even with his dislocated leg, he's definitely still out there trying to help the team. You know, I love Scatterbu. I wish he wasn't on the Giants. Well, you know what? It doesn't matter if he's on the Giants now because he's not playing in the game, so that doesn't really bother us at all. But what a great win for the Bears. Hopefully we can get back on the win streak. So we got the Bengals coming up. We got the Giants at home. The Vikings on the road. Let's get a rematch on J.J. McCarthy for what happened week 1. I'm still not over that one. We could have beat them, but we choked. Steelers at home. Eagles on Black Friday. That's going to be such a fun game. After Thanksgiving, you get home on that Wednesday or on the Thursday of Thanksgiving. You eat so much food. You go to bed and you're just in a food coma, and then you wake up, and guess what? You have Chicago Bears football on at 2 o'clock. So not even right at the a.m. You could get some coffee, walk your dog, do some chores, run to the store, and come back and get your butt right on the couch for the Bears game. And then December 7th, we are facing the Packers in Lambeau. I went to Lambeau 2 years ago. What a stadium they have there. Then we have the Browns at home, which is actually the game I'm going to. Me, my cousins, my dad, my uncles, all of us are going to that game. That's going to be a blast. And then after that, we have the Packers again, 49ers, and Lions. So it's a tough little schedule here. The Giants is a must-win. I am declaring this one a must-win because that's the only win I would give us at least a 70% chance to win. The Vikings, I mean, is another winnable game, but you never know with division matchups because these teams are rivals and they're fighting for playoff chances. So anything could happen in that game. And then 2 games against the Packers. Hopefully you can split 1-1 there, which would be ideal. But if we lose both the Packers, that's our chances to get into the playoffs, I feel like, probably drop. With no knowledge in front of me right now or projections, they are definitely dropping from that point on. So thankfully, the Bears ended my Sunday great. What a great way to end my Sunday. The previous day was Saturday, no duh, but we had the World Series on. Oh my God, what a World Series it has been. People are declaring it the number 1 World Series of all time. As a Cubs fan, I am kind of fighting back against that because we came back down 3-1 against the Indians, and that Game 7 was, I went over in my first episode, but that Game 7 was one for the ages. But this Game 7 that we just watched the other night was also very good. And it wasn't just because of how it went down. It was because of the build-up, everything else that happened in the series. It was so the first game went to the Dodgers. So the first game went to the Blue Jays in Toronto. They went up 1-0. So the Blue Jays won Game 1, and I wasn't really worried because it's the Dodgers. They don't give a crap about losing one game because they have the power and the skill to just come back and win everybody. So then we have Game 2, Dodgers win. Game 3. Oh my God, Game 3. Before I go into the breakdown of what happened in Game 3, can I just say I'm not a Dodgers fan. I'm not a Blue Jays fan. But when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at it from this perspective. This has nothing to do with, anti-Canada or anything like that. I just think if Canada won the World Series and they came back and won the Stanley Cup, then Canadians would be, "Oh, we have you beat in hockey and baseball." That's what the talk would be. But no, baseball's our sport, and we're going to continue to claim that. So that's why the Dodgers won. If the Canada wants to win the Stanley Cup next year, so be it. You could have it. I'm not going to defend it that hard. But baseball is our sport, and we continue to show that in this series. Game 3, though. 18 innings in Game 3. 18 innings, that's 2 baseball games combined. It's absolutely insane. Oh my God, it was crazy, guys. So it was a long game. I was dozing off, but then I realized, you know what? I'm trying to witness history right now. I'm going to stay awake and see what happened. And I also had some wagering going on in the game. I had, Shohei Ohtani for 2 home runs, and I cashed it. Absolutely amazing. After that, I became the biggest Shohei Ohtani fan ever. After that game, no, literally, you think I'm joking, but now I could literally talk about Shohei Ohtani forever. He's a god, literally a god. It's not even fair what he brings to the game of baseball. In that game, he had the 2 home runs, was on base 9 times. This man was on base 9 times, and then later on. So basically, if you don't know the outcome, I'll just do a shortened series. I'm not going to go down an 18-game inning review. But the Dodgers ended up winning it 5-4 with a Freddie Freeman walk-off to win it. Of course, it ended with Freddie Freeman. He's the definition of baseball. Just a lovely guy. Loves his teammates, loves his family, loves baseball. Just the ultimate team player. Freddie won it for them in the 18th inning. Before that, there was flyouts with people hitting the warning track, pimping fly balls that had no chance of going out. Pitchers getting warmed up in the pen that were going to pitch next games. People that weren't even pitchers potentially getting ready to pitch. It was a crazy game, and it was just, if you weren't there watching it, it's probably something you get FOMO from. And look, I missed the ending. I'm not going to lie. I missed the Freddie Freeman home run. And I had some FOMO because it was the longest baseball game. You're just sitting there. It's a random Tuesday night. You're just sitting there expecting a baseball game. Oh, maybe we'll get a 3-1 game. Maybe we'll get a 4-2 game. But no, you just witnessed a 5-4 thriller, and it had everything. You had, when I first turned on the game, you had Bo Bichette at first base, and he thought Springer got walked, so he started going to second base, advancing because it's a dead ball. But the umpire actually called it strike 3, so the catcher threw over, got it from him, and boom, tagged him out. Inning over. That was crazy. The umps got to be louder. You're in a loud stadium. Be loud, dude. Use your voice, please, so the players know. But obviously that didn't happen. Bo Bichette did it here, so he went on thinking, oh, it's a walk. I'm going to get to second base. We'll have a chance to score. But nope, that did not go that way. And that was just one of the things that happened in that game. And then we have the third base coaches. I don't know what they were doing in this game, but they were just making the worst sends of all time. Freddie Freeman got sent home one time, and he had no chance of getting it at all. He's 40 years old, and he's not a speedster. He's never been a speedster. I don't know what the third base coach was thinking, but sending him there was not the smartest thing you could do right now. So that bit them in the ass. And so down the road, the Dodgers did the same thing and the Blue Jays did the same thing and sent a runner from third, which cost them of all their scoring chances. I think these coaches just are trying to get that instant gratification and do something right now, but it was not even close. You have to know the situations of the game that you're in, and by not doing that, you just cost your team. And then I think the funniest video came from after the game when Dave Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, was in the dugout explaining, all right, we just got done with this 18-inning game, and our pitcher who's pitching tomorrow was on base 9 times, referring to Shohei. And then they just cut to Shohei Ohtani in the corner of the dugout doing his wind up, his pitching wind up. And he just is such a little kid at heart. Even though he's like 30, 31 now, he still has that baby face, that smile, everything that happens. It looks like it's a great time to him. And he's just the ultimate vibes guy. And I can't believe it took me this long to come around on Shohei. I think I just kind of had my mind mixed up because of when he had the gambling situation go on, and then what else? He had something else happen. It just made you think, oh, this guy seems kind of shady. But no, I love him not just because he cashed my 2 home run bet. Because we're literally watching history. He can pitch and hit and does it without any problems, without any limitations. Most people would be like, oh my God, I just was in an 18-inning game where I played the whole game. I have to go back onto the mound tomorrow, less than 24 hours from now, and pitch and help my team advance and try to win this World Series. That's a lot of pressure on one player, and Shohei just doesn't even show like that he's fazed by it. He's just always locked in, staring at his teammates having the best time. So he's just an awesome player, and I wish the Cubs went and got him. But we're so cheap. It came out that so Shohei's contract is deferred, meaning he can basically play baseball right now, and the Dodgers don't have to pay him any money until after the season's over, and or not even the season's over until like his career's over practically. So Shohei gave that chance to every MLB team in the league, and the Cubs were one of them. And the Cubs, being the cheap asses that they are, they didn't jump on that opportunity. We have all of Wrigleyville is owned by Tom Ricketts, the owner of the Cubs, but he does nothing to show for it. Here's last year the Cubs made the third most amount of money in the MLB and spent the 15th most. If you do the breakdown, like the percentage ratio of that, it comes down to us being like the first team making the most money and not spending that money, which is a slap in the face to all the fans because it just shows you we got our World Series in 2016. We're going to be content with that. And then you guys could just sit there, watch one, what do we get? 3 playoff games this past year. But just not enough. You need to try to bring in the best talent to win. Like the Cubs are just not doing that right now with the players that they are acquiring. And especially hearing that we could have had Shohei Ohtani, and he had Japanese ties to the city already with with Shota Imanaga and Seiya Suzuki already being on the roster. But he ultimately went to LA where 2 other guys, Roku Sasaki and Yamimoto. I'm so bad at that name, Yamimoto. Yamimoto. I'm just going to call him Yamimoto. But he is another guy that we got to give credit for. He was named World Series MVP, and he deserved it. He started Game 6, pitched how many innings? I think he went 5 or 6 innings, got pulled, came back in Game 7 and finished the game for the team. That's not a lot. You don't see that very often in the MLB, especially in this new day and age where pitchers get pulled instantly for load management and to save their arms. People go to bullpen games earlier on. And the Dodgers, Yamamoto showed that he was built different. And I came up with this. So you know the movie Usual Suspects, Kaiser Soze? Well, Yamamoto kind of gives me his vibes. He's just this little guy, shadowy figure that comes from the dark and causes havoc on the other team. You don't expect it from him, but there he is delivering time and time again. And these Japanese players on the Dodgers are just ultimate vibes guys. They're always together. They look like best friends. They always laugh, smile. It's awesome. And I wish Shohei used his English side more so he could get more of a personality, but apparently he doesn't he uses his translator because he wants all of his fans back home to be able to understand what he's saying. And I admire that because it is a national game after all, and he's from Japan, one of the best players of all time, so he deserves to have that respect given to him. I know the NFL is on the minds of most people in America, but if you don't follow college football, I can't defend you because it's literally the best sport in the world. Every year you have coaches fired, coaches hired, teams missing out on championships and playoffs, and the fan base is going absolutely crazy. That's what we have going right now in college football. There's a bunch of huge open jobs. the LSU football coaching position is open. The Florida football position is open. Arkansas is open. Oklahoma State's open. Auburn's open. So many teams and so many places where coaches could go, and it's not just low tier jobs. These are some of the best jobs you can have. SEC jobs that anyone could die for. Literally to die for. And I think some of these fans are dying on their message boards. I listed in like my first episode that I did that there's message boards in college football where fans go and absolutely overreact to everything and everything you could imagine. And that's happening right now in college football. So LSU fired Brian Kelly. Bye, Brian. That's the coach that left Notre Dame because he thought he would have a better chance at winning a national championship at LSU. But this clown, this bozo, only went. He didn't go to the national playoffs. He didn't go to the college football playoffs one time. Notre Dame been there since he's left, and they're probably going to go again this year. So that's just a total F you to Brian Kelly. We don't need you, dude. Like, have fun being unemployed, and I hope you never coach again, dude. Or actually, I do hope you coach again because I hope it ends worse than it ended in LSU where all the fans were hating you. That's literally how it needs to end. Brian Kelly's the worst. Absolutely the worst. So Brian Kelly got fired because, oh boy, he lost a lot of games this season, guys. He was struggling, and LSU fans didn't like him to begin with. From the first time they met him, when he went to the basketball game, and he said, "My family." Like, bro, you're from the Midwest. You're not Louisiana. You're not from Louisiana. You're not from the South. And that's what the LSU fans want. They want a coach from their territory, from their school. Honestly, they probably want someone from their school with ties. And Brian Kelly was faking it the whole time, from when he introduced himself doing that to when he did those recruiting videos when him and the recruits would spin around on that little camera thing and he would just look like an absolute clown trying to connect with the players. But dude, you're 60 years old and there's nothing but bad things to be said about you. Normally when coaches get fired or things don't go good for their school, people that they have connected with in the past would stick up for them and be like, "Oh, Brian's a great guy. It sucks to see how things are going right now, but I know he'll bounce back and be great." There's nothing like that. Andrew Whitworth, who's one of the best left tackles to ever play the game of football, who's an LSU alum, went on a podcast with Ryan Fitzpatrick earlier in the week and said Brian Kelly didn't ask him for anything. Andrew said he told Brian Kelly numerous times, "I want to be a mentor to these players. If you need help with anything, not coaching, but just being there as a role model for the players." And Brian was like, "Okay, for sure," and never reached out. That just seems like the type of person that he has been and that he's never going to change because he's been doing this forever. I don't know if anyone else is familiar, but I don't want to get negative on the podcast, but it's Brian Kelly, so I'm going to do it anyway. But he was the head coach, I think, where was it? Cincinnati, somewhere before he got to Notre Dame. It was like in the early 2000s, but there was a rainstorm and he wanted his practice recorded so bad. So he made one of the interns or someone that recorded for the football team go up on one of those things that bring you up, like the metal things, and record from there. And the storm was so bad, the kid ended up dying on the thing. Absolute terrible story, but it just shows Brian Kelly, he does not have a human side. He just cares about football, sprinkling himself there, football. And his time at LSU came to an end. And the best part about when coaches, I never want to see anyone get fired. Like, it's pretty sad. They're without a job, but at the same time, they have a $50 million buyout. So who's really feeling bad for him? He could literally go to any foreign country he wants to right now and live life there for the next 30 years and just be vibing with no problem. He doesn't have to worry about coaching these kids, recruiting players, and that's what he's doing right now. Everyone says the best job in sports is a fired football coach in college football, and that's really true because we've seen it time and time again. Coaches are getting buyouts north of $50 million just to leave their school early and not have to coach there anymore. It's ridiculous, but that's what happened. And the best part about the firings is how the fans react to it. I mean, the message boards, there's message boards all over. You can go to specific ones like tigerdroppings.com, which I'm on right now. You can go to On3 Recruiting, 24/7 Sports Recruiting, and there's message boards and forums and Reddit too, just like Reddit, how you could interact and see what fans are saying about the teams. And oh man, these fans are not happy. We have fans saying he checked out 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago. We have fans saying, my favorite one was a player saying if Whit Weeks, who's the linebacker for the LSU, if he never got hurt, Brian Kelly would never be fired. What an insane statement. Whit Weeks is a middle linebacker, off-ball middle linebacker, one of the least important positions on a defense. Not the most, but one of the least. He's an off-ball linebacker, and someone said, oh, if he never got hurt, Brian Kelly would still be hired. Those are what fans are like on these message boards. They think of everything is going to save them. You're not going to win the game just because Whit Weeks is back. It's not that important of a player. And now you have LSU fans who are just absolutely unbelievable. Another funny one I saw was someone saying that they have sources. Okay, listen, these people on these message boards have quote unquote sources that are telling them that LSU is going to hire Nick Saban for 3 years, and after these 3 years are up, he has full control to hire his successor and as well as be the athletic director for the program. Let's break that down. Nick Saban, what is he, 70-something years old? You think he's going to leave the easiest job in the country right now, which is every Saturday we have Nick Saban on TV with Pat McAfee, Reese Davis, Kirk Herbstreit, just absolutely shooting the shit, talking about college football, doing funny segments together. He's getting paid more money than he could have been paid in his final years of Alabama for what he's doing right now. So I don't think he's going to leave this job, go to LSU, and then after that, be the athletic director. Being the athletic director takes a lot of work. You're in control of the whole sports program. And it's not even like the LSU athletic director has done a bad job. It's just everyone at LSU is crazy, from the governor of the state all the way down to LSU itself. It's Nick Saban's not going to walk into that situation. People think Lane Kiffin's going to go. Lane Kiffin wants nothing to do with LSU, in my opinion. He's at Ole Miss, a big tier SEC school that has the same amount of donors, NIL available to him that LSU would have. A less crazy fan base. I can't see him leaving, having to deal with all that interstate rivalry every time he goes back to Ole Miss. I know Lane Kiffin lives for the controversy, but sometimes I do think he just wants to chill and be Lane Kiffin and not have to deal with all these headlines about himself. I'm sure he just wants to go to the beach with his blonde girl that he'd be picking up every weekend after games and just live that little life and not have to be in the spotlight of LSU and having to deal with fans calling for his head every week if he doesn't win the game. So I think he's content on where he is, and I can't see him leaving anytime soon. But another person said, I just love these people that think they have real inside information. We have people that are saying, hi all, just figured to jump in here and give an update. I wouldn't hold too much weight on what Gov Landry is doing. I am told that is not going to drive anyone away from taking the LSU job. I've asked a couple times to people tied in with the program. If you had to pick who will be coaching LSU in 2026, I was given the same answer all 5 times. Lane Kiffin. And this wasn't a guess according to 2 of them. Okay, no way these random people on message boards have this information before actual ESPN insiders like Adam Scheffler, who else? Andy Staples. So many of these people will have the scoop before them, and it wouldn't stay hidden between 5 people if it's already out to this person on the message board. So it's just, people are desperate. That's what I said. It's so funny. They think everything is going to go their way, and then watch, LSU is going to hire, like, not even Eli Drinkowitz or John Sumrall. They're going to hire, like, I don't even know, like, some random coach that no one's heard of. And that might be what they have to do, because I don't think any Power 5 team wants to go right now, especially what else has come out. I don't know if you guys are following this. This is another thing, but this is insane. This is real life college football. So the the governor of LSU is in the middle of this as well. He was saying that the athletic director of LSU is not going to be making the next head coaching choice because he has too much financial ties to the current one and what he had at Texas A&M. So I forgot the guy's first name, but the athletic director's name right now is Woodard. Something Woodard. He's an LSU alum, Louisiana resident. He's hired some good coaches. He hired Kim Mulkey in basketball, Jim Jones for baseball, and then their softball coach has also won a national championship, I believe, in these times since he's been there. But football, since Coach O has had very, very, very little success. I mean, Brian Kelly won the division title the first year he got there, but since then it was just kind of going downhill. So the governor is saying that the AD is not going to be able to make the next coaching pick because he's tied so much money to these coaches. Because when he was at Texas A&M, he spent about $70 million on the buyout there. And then Brian Kelly's buyout is going to be $50 million. So there's a lot of money all tied up to these people. And the governor is mad. I give him that. But I don't think you should be going on national headlines and doing a press conference saying that the current person you have enrolled in this position is not going to be making the choice at all. Like, no, not whatsoever, without even firing him first. But yesterday he was fired, so it makes sense. But still, the new AD that just got hired isn't going to come in right away and make the position of hiring over a president of the school who is the acting governor right now. The governor is acting as the president of Louisiana State University, which is so weird. Like, what? Like, dude. And he was saying that this AD is not going to be able to make the hire. He's got too much money on his high hand. And he said Donald Trump is going to make the hire. And I'm sure Trump probably heard that message in his Oval Office right now, jumped up and got on the phone and was like, oh, I know who I'm going to hire. I'm going to hire Donald Trump Jr. to be the head coach of LSU. That's something he would do. Like, it would be some random hire. Let the football people make football decisions. Stay out of football, dude. Go back to your politics. No one needs to hear from you, all right? Like, please, just leave us alone. So LSU is in absolute shambles right now, but that's not the only team that has fired their coach. Penn State also fired their coach, James Franklin. If you're not familiar, James Franklin has been a topic of discussions of college football what seems like forever. This man is... He can't win the big games, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be honest here. That's what's always been said about Lane. That's what always been the mark on James Franklin. He just can never win the games, and Penn State fans are in shambles. So the main Penn State is kind of like New York Knicks, how they always think every coach is going to come to their team. Like I mentioned last week when the Knicks fired Thibodeau, they were going after Jason Kidd, Joe Mazzulla from the Celtics, other coaches across. I think they even went out to try to get in Billy Donovan from the Bulls. But yeah, the Penn State fans are just like that. We have them calling for Urban Meyer to be hired, which just like Nick Saban, I don't think he wants to leave his Fox job right now, where he's getting paid millions to also just go on in the morning shows and talk about what he loves, football. I don't think he's just going to leave that right now at this point. And this is what NOYDB, he's a redshirt user on On3 recruiting board for Penn State. He said, Urban Meyer for $10 million per year for as long as he wants to stay. Hire Hartline as the OC and the next head coach in waiting. For those of you who aren't familiar with this, Brian Hartline is a current offensive coordinator for Ohio State. He's had a lot of success with Ohio State. He deserves a job, but I really think he wants to stay with Ohio State for as long as possible. But this is a coaching carousel right now for him that has a bunch of jobs that he can take. I can see Hartline going to Florida. I can see him going to Auburn. I can't see him leaving. I can't see him leaving Ohio State for Penn State, especially when his last defensive coordinator at Ohio State last year, after they lost, Jim Knowles, he went to Penn State, and as we see, that's not a lot of success. So I feel like that would deter Brian Hartline from wanting to go there. And also, I've seen someone someone in the I'm sorry guys, there's like construction going on right now behind me. It's super irritating, but I heard someone saying that someone said, I am old fashioned and still believe in the idea of success with honor. That eliminates Meyer for me. So Urban Meyer had some controversies at Florida. His team was full of a lot of criminals, one of them being Aaron Hernandez, who was arrested at a fell for killing some of his teammates. But Urban Meyer has that history, and he went to the NFL for a couple of years and had some problems there where it came out that he kicked one of his players. So it came out when he was at the Jaguars that he was like kicking players, being like mentally abusing the kicker of the team. Like it was funny. But then so it's just it's just funny how Ohio State fans or Penn State fans then they forget about all the stuff that's taken place at Penn State when Joe Paterno and Jerry Sandusky were there, and they were doing things in the showers with kids. But this guy on the message board says he believes in success with honor. So Urban Meyer, even though he did nothing nearly as close to that, but since he has a pass, nope, we can't hire him. That guy's an idiot. Urban Meyer would be as close to a slam dunk hire as possible, but he's not going anywhere. First of all, I don't think he likes a new era of college football. I don't think he's a big fan of having to pay players money. It's just a lot of stuff that doesn't translate to this new college game to him, and I don't think he's going to want to leave what he's doing now. And people are saying, if we need college players to be treated more like pros, then Urban Meyer should definitely move down the list. Dude, I think these players want to win, but if they're getting paid to win, then they don't give a shit about who their coach is. They'll go in, get their check, get their draft stock up, and playing for one of the best coaches in the country, I don't think they'll care if he's a little harsh on them. So it's just, and then the Penn State fans also think they're going to get Curt Cignetti from Indiana. He came from JMU 2 years ago, completely turned around Indiana's football program, makes them actually competitors in the Big Ten. So I don't think he's just going to leave them for another Big Ten team, which comes with having to turn them around too, especially with all the stuff come out with Penn State, players leaving, players decommitting. Just so many things have been happening in Penn State. Curt Cignetti wouldn't leave a great thing he's built at Indiana for a program like Penn State. Penn State is more historically well known than Indiana football, but right now you have to stick with Indiana. You would be looked at differently across the football landscape if you continue to make potentially lateral moves. And I think if Cignetti is going to go anywhere, he would be one of those guys to go to a SEC school like a Florida or LSU or Auburn. He has that FU mentality where he's kind of got a cockiness to him where most LSU fans will succeed in that, or where most fans will succeed in the South. Yes, sorry. I'm still dealing with this construction going in my headphones, but yeah, we have Curt Cignetti is not going to leave Indiana, and then they also are calling for Marcus Freeman to be hired. That's my Marcus Freeman. No one is touching him. He's Notre Dame's coach. He literally converted to Catholic. He's Catholic now. He wasn't Catholic before, but now he is. I don't think he'd do that to go to Penn State, a team that he just mollywopped in the playoffs a year before. And on that note, Penn State, dude, Notre Dame pretty much owns you. We got two of your best recruits after they decommitted from you after your team left. We have the bragging rights to say that our coach doesn't want to leave us for you, which is also amazing. Screw Penn State. Notre Dame owns you guys. We took your recruits. You're not getting our coach. Hope we face you again in the playoffs sometime soon. Because I still see a lot of fans online that think Penn State had a chance in that game. We beat you fair and square. That sounds so corny, but I don't understand how these fans actually can say that they were in the game. We dominated you guys, and you need to just see that already. Another coaching job that is finally open is Florida, and not to brag everyone, but in NCAA Football 26, I am the head coach of the University of Florida, and we've won 2 championships in the 6 years I've been there. So if they want to get things right, they should go ahead and hire me. But the coach they had previous, Billy Napier, he was not getting it done, and the writing was on the wall that he was going to be fired. The vibes were dead after the UCF game. Nothing was going to be fixed. The team was 8-5 last year, but that's good enough for a bowl game. But Florida had more expectations than this. Under Billy Napier, 8-5 was their best year, like I said, but the expectations got to be higher. In his time there, these are some bad stats, guys. So if you have a garbage can near you, you might want to grab that. But he's been terrible in the SEC. I'm sorry, Billy. You're gonna get hired again somewhere and probably be a good coach. But 12-6 in the SEC, 0-14 on the road against ranked teams in the SEC. 0-3 versus his rivals Georgia, 1-3 versus LSU, 1-2 versus Tennessee, 0-2 against Miami, and Mario Cristobal took the job the same year, both in the state of Florida, one at Miami, one at University of Florida, and Billy Napier has drastically had the worst teams. We've had Mario Cristobal take his team to conference championships, almost on the verge of the playoffs, but absolutely dominating in the recruiting in Florida as well. And then he was also on a 2-year losing streak. This is just sad. I'm sorry, Billy, but Kentucky was on a 2-year losing streak against Power 5 teams at home. And on September 23rd, the first game in their new stadium since their renovations, Billy Napier of Florida lost to them. And then in 2023, Arkansas went 1-11, and their only win that season was against Florida in the swamp. And that's so tragic. It's just so sad. Like, he has some players. He has one of the Heisman candidates, DJ Lagway, at the start of the season ready to go and maybe win a Heisman, maybe lead the team far. They were a top 10 ranked team going into this season, and now they're falling out. They're not going to be finished anywhere in the top 50 if they do those rankings. It's disappointment for Florida. Like I said, writing was on the wall. The fans aren't as mad as LSU fans and I guess Penn State fans. Because, I mean, Billy Napier tried to make it work, I guess. It was a good hire in hindsight. The other two were good hires too, but Billy Franklin just seemed more Florida than these other two guys at their spots, and it just terrible run for Billy, but he'll probably get hired by a lower tier group of 5 team, and then you'll probably see him back in like the ACC or Big Ten in the next couple of years or so. But to have all the talent that you have at Florida and to have 8 wins be your highest mark when you've been the coach, just not good business. Next team I'm going to be talking about is Arkansas, another SEC team that fired their coach. This one came after Notre Dame absolutely mollywopped them at home a couple weeks ago. And the next day after that, the Penn State coach was fired. Or not the Penn State coach, the Sam Pittman, the Arkansas coach, was fired. And Arkansas was looking for a new coach, and who they turned to? None other than former coach Bobby Petrino. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, Bobby Petrino was a former Arkansas coach in about the 2007, 2010 era. Things didn't end well with him there. Not necessarily a bad team, but off the field, some things really took a turn. So he was involved in a motorcycle accident. You might see the picture if you follow football, Twitter, pretty much Twitter in general. You'll see this guy Pacino in his he got in a motorcycle accident, and then his picture went viral of him with the neck brace on, just absolutely all bloody in his Arkansas gear. But that wasn't the end of the story. If you just get into a motorcycle accident, oh well, you'll probably get the help you need, doctors, all that. But this time it wasn't that well for good old Bobby. He So when the crash happened, he was instantly very shady about it, making up excuses, lies, things that inconsistencies. So people dug more, and it came out that a staffer for him that was hired to help in player development was on the motorcycle with him as well, and they were having an affair together. Um, and there was a lot of lying that went on, him trying to cover this stuff up, and it just didn't end well with him. His time quickly came to an end, even after two postseason berths where they won bowl games. But he was let go. After he was let go, he went to Louisville, where he spent most of his time. He went to Western Kentucky, I believe, where he was at the FCS level, just coaching just for the love of the game. And then he got hired back by Sam Pittman of Arkansas. It was like, I feel like this was like a succession show. I've never seen it, but I feel like this was what it'd be. He was literally hired by the guy, and then the same guy that hired him, he took the guy's job. And I kind of feel like Bobby Petrino had this all going on in his head the whole time, because he's a little bit of a skeezer, a little bit shady of an individual. So if he's having an affair with a person that he brought on and recommended for the job, they were probably having an affair before he took this guy's job. I just think he's a shady little guy. I don't think you can trust him, to be quite honest with you. Now Arkansas has him as an intern head coach. They've played okay since he's taken back over. But these teams just love going back to the well. They have to get guys that are connected with the team in one way. For all these other openings, they'll even have, coaches considered just because they lived in the state for a short period of time. College football is full of connections. It's about, your coach is about who you know, the coaching trees that you have been on. So even if you have not the best skill when you get your first in a head coach, if you go back and become coordinator under a coach like Dan Lanning did, he was never a head coach, but he was coordinator under Kirby Smart at Georgia for a while. Look how that turned out for him. He's one of the best coaches in the country right now, has an Oregon team that is completely humming. So he's doing everything he can right now to be the great player that he is, or the great coach that he is. But yeah, there's just a lot of openings in college football, coaches that have jobs I just don't think they're going to be leaving their job for. There's just a lot of that going on, and these fan bases literally hope for the best but get the worst. Like the Florida and LSU fans are hoping for Lane Kiffin to come save them, or Nick Saban to come out of retirement to join them. But at the end of the day, they're going to get a group of 5 coach that has their first shot at an SEC team. And the fans aren't going to have much leeway for them either. They aren't going to be inviting with them. Oh, have a welcoming first year, and then we'll go from there. No, they're going to want results right away, especially if these teams are able to keep these players from transferring to other schools. The coach is going to have even more of an expectation to win right away. And that's not going to change because college fans are crazy. These are small town people. Just think, for instance, let's go to Mississippi State in the SEC. LSU doesn't have a professional team. Auburn doesn't have a professional team. Alabama doesn't have a professional team. So these college teams are all these fans' lives. They watch these teams. They go to these games. They get to know the players, the coaches, traditions with the team. And they want the best because they're spending their money, and they want the team to spend their money accordingly to put a good product on the field. But these fans do go very far when they think they have inside sources in the building just because they maybe talk to one guy at the local gas station that suggested a coach, and then that guy thought he was connected with the organization and then runs with that, continues all these rumors. People take these rumors, spread them, and then next thing you know, you have these coaches trying to get these people hired, but it doesn't work out. So then they gotta go the third and fourth options, the people that they wanted. So it's just, there's a whole bunch going on in college football, and I just feel like there's a lot of jobs open and not a lot of considering candidates, I guess. Because even if like Kirk Signetti isn't going anywhere, Marcus Freeman isn't going anywhere, the coaches that are at Eli Drinkowitz might not go anywhere. John Summerall might not go anywhere. He won a huge game, lost in next week. The SMU coach got a huge extension to stay at SMU, goes out and beats Miami, and is on the verge of possibly getting another call to take the job. So you just win games and get rich in college football. Have a contract, win games, get rich. Other teams come calling, try to pull you from the team you're at. It's just a lot of craziness going on. I'm just glad Notre Dame has a great coach, Marcus Freeman, leading us, and I don't have to worry about him getting offered another job. I think he's been offered the Penn State job, but I think Notre Dame re-upped on his contract that is giving him everything he needs to stay here. His family's here. He has a younger family that grew up here, so that's things you gotta also take into effect. People aren't just gonna leave their families for. I mean, I'm not saying I would, but I mean, $70 million to coach is a lot of money. I mean, come with me. We'll move to Penn State from Indiana. Wow, big difference. But just things like that. These players, these coaches, reporters, fans, all take this so serious, and they really get into it. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown, and I hope you guys gained some more knowledge on how crazy college football is. I think it's absolutely, it's one of the best things we got. These fans just love their college team so much, so they're gonna do everything they can, spread narratives online to try to get their team to be at the top. I love it. It's good for the sport. It's good for sports in general. The more attention that comes on these teams, the better. I love the World Series we just had. A Game 7 doesn't get better than that. When both teams are literally laying their bodies on the line to try to win. Players running balls down from center field. Shortstops making great plays. Players hitting home runs. It just... Game 7, it's the best 2 words in sports for that exact reason. You never know what you're going to expect, and I feel like it's a 99 hit rate that are going to have an amazing game when it does come down to the final game of the season. It could be football, hockey, baseball, everything. Game 7 is just the best. I love Game 7 so much. Hopefully the Chicago teams could get to one of these Game 7s. I mean, I wouldn't love it because I'd rather us win it in 4 or 5, but just being in that situation with your team on the line, winner takes all, every shot you're sitting there on the edge of your couch. Oh, man, I love sports so much. And then we got the Bears, 5-3, baby, going home to face the Giants. A lot of good things happening in Chicago right now. I mean, let's just keep the sports going. Let's get a playoff year where all of us are in the playoffs. Let's go Bulls, Blackhawks, Bears, Battlestar Galactica. No, but for real, I'm just happy with the state of Chicago sports right now. I don't care if the Bears are just squeaking by. A win's a win, and you never apologize for a win. Everyone, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Around the Leagues with Brady B. Tune in next week. Thank you all, and have a good night. Bye.